Her hand is on mine before I understand what is happening. Not near mine. On mine. Palm flat against my knuckles, warm and deliberate and completely still. 5 seconds ago, I was signing the document that ends 7 years of my life. Now her thumb is moving in a single slow arc against the base of my wrist, and I have forgotten every reason I came to this office. Every careful thing I told myself in the elevator on the way up. Every plan I made for the drive home. Something low in my sternum locks into place, the way a joint does when it's been out of alignment and suddenly isn't. She says my name. Just that. Mara? Not a question. Not a professional reassurance. Just the word, in a register I have not heard from her before. Lower than her courtroom voice, lower than her phone voice, lower than any of the 4 meetings in 3 months where she was precise and formal and exactly as far away as she needed to be. I look up. Her eyes are open. She's not performing calm. She has been holding her breath. If you want to hear uncensored too hot for YouTube stories, check out my Patreon in the description. Tell us where you're watching from and subscribe. 8:14 p.m. Rewind. The office should be empty. Lena told her assistant to leave at 6. The cleaning crew does not come until 10. The building's lower floors are dark already. I watched the lights drop from the window while I waited for her to pull the files, whole rectangular grids going black one by one, the city making itself smaller for the night. It is just the 2 of us, and 60 pages of paperwork, and the particular silence that settles into high-rise buildings after business hours. The HVAC still running, the elevator still chiming somewhere down the hall. But the human noise gone. No phones, no keyboards, no one in the corridor outside the frosted glass panel in the conference room door. I am sitting at a long, dark wood table that is meant to make everyone at it feel like a professional. It does not work on me tonight. I am 32 years old, and I am wearing the cream cable knit sweater I bought 2 weeks ago. The only thing in my current wardrobe that fits over the small curve at 16 weeks without turning it into an announcement. And I have been an art director for 9 years, which means I know exactly how a space is designed to communicate power, and I know exactly what this conference room is telling me. It is telling me this is where things end. This is where decisions that were made in other rooms become official in this one. It is telling me the thing I already know, have known since Marcus left, have been telling myself in the shower at 5 a.m. when the nausea wakes me and I sit on the tile floor and breathe through it. It is over. You just have to sign. The paperwork is in a neat stack at the far end of the table. Lena is standing at the window with her back to me, looking at the city. She has been doing this for 45 seconds. I have been counting. Lena Sørensen, partner, family law, 42 years old. She walked into my first consultation 3 months ago, and the conference room reorganized around her without being asked. The lights seemed to route differently. The 2 associates who were already seated both sat up straighter without looking at each other, and the air temperature dropped 0.5 degree in the way it does when someone enters who has learned how to make a room listen. I noticed all of this the way I notice good design, clinically, with professional appreciation, without attachment. Then she turned to face me and I noticed the rest of it. Her hair is jet black and straight, cut to fall just past her shoulders, center parted, tucked behind one ear on the left side only. Her face is angular, defined jaw, sharp cheekbones, a nose that looks like it was drawn by someone who believed in economy. Her eyes are set deep, and they are dark, and they do not perform warmth, and they do not apologize for this. She was wearing a charcoal suit that day, the jacket structured and double-buttoned, and she moved through the room with the particular unhurried certainty of someone who has stopped performing urgency because she no longer needs to. She sat down across from me, opened the file, and began to speak. Her voice is the thing I filed least accurately in the first meeting. I told myself it was low, professional, measured. I told myself this was simply a quality of her legal register, the trained composure of someone who spends her days managing other people's worst moments. I told myself this several times over the next 3 months, in the way you tell yourself things that are technically true but incomplete. She's still standing at the window, staring at. I watch her back, the charcoal jacket, the way the city light catches the edge of her shoulder, the black silk blouse visible at her collar, smooth over the back of her neck where the hair is tucked away on one side and falls loose on the other. I do not think about her. I have been very clear with myself about this for 3 months. I think about Marcus and the look on his face in the kitchen when I told him. I think about the 7 years. I think about the apartment I moved into after, smaller, on a lower floor, with a bathroom where I have been sitting on tile at 5 a.m. twice a week. I think about the fact that I am 16 weeks along and that the only people who know are my doctor and the woman currently turning away from the window to come back to the table. She sits, the files come between us. She aligns the stack with the edge of the table with 2 fingers, a small economy of motion, the kind of unconscious precision I have noticed and filed and refused to examine. "These are in order," she says. Her voice is the professional one. "First signature here, then here. The flagged pages are the ones requiring both dates, when you're ready." She slides the stack toward me. 2 fingers. The paper makes a soft sound against the dark wood. I pick up her pen. It is black lacquer, heavy, the kind of weight that costs a specific amount, the weight of something chosen rather than given. My hand shakes, not visibly at first, just a faint internal tremor that I feel before I see it. I position the pen at the first signature line, and the tip skates sideways and leaves a small errant mark on the white space beside my printed name. I stop. Across the table, Lena goes very still. Not the stillness of someone ignoring something, the stillness of someone choosing not to move while they assess. I can see the small adjustment in her posture, the infinitesimal shift of her shoulders that is not a lean forward but is something adjacent to it, too. "Take your time," she says. Her voice is half a note lower. I try again. The pen wobbles. The tip of it makes a shape that is not a signature. I set it down. "I'm fine," I say to the table. In the window behind her, a helicopter crosses from east to west in the dark blue air, its light blinking slow and patient. I watch it until it disappears beyond the frame of glass. Lena does not look away from me. The HVAC hums from the ceiling vent. The elevator chimes somewhere down the hall. The city goes on being a city outside the glass, indifferent and enormous. And I am here with her pen, still resting on the wrong line, and 60 pages waiting, and a small life inside me that does not know yet that its other parent is already gone. "Take your time," Lena says again. The same words, a different architecture. I pick up the pen. The first signature is the worst. My elbow is locked and my wrist is too rigid, and the letters come out angular and strange, not like my actual handwriting, but on the line. The second is marginally better. By the third, something in my arm has gone mechanical, working independently of the rest of me, following the trained motor memory of a person who signs things for a living. Art approvals, client presentations, budget sign-offs. My hand has been here before. It knows what to do, even when I don't. Lena watches. She does not perform patience. She does not make small noises of encouragement. She simply stays, still and present, while I move through pages. And the quality of her stillness is different from absence. It is the opposite of absence. It is a form of attention so concentrated, it has physical weight. The tissue box is on the far end of the table, where it was when I arrived. Between the 3rd and 4th page, without a word, without any change in her posture or her expression, Lena extends her arm and slides it 3 inches closer to me. I notice this, and I do not say anything about it. I keep signing. On page 7, my vision blurs. Not dramatically, just the text swimming slightly, the signature lines going soft at the edges. And I realize that the wet trail running from the outer corner of my left eye down toward my jaw is not something I decided to do. It is simply happening. My eyes are wet and the tears are moving, and I am still holding Lena's pen, and none of this is something I planned. I keep signing. Page 8, page 9. I reach over with my non-writing hand and pull a tissue from the box and press it to my face and keep going. The pen in my right hand does not stop. My body has apparently decided that the most efficient route is to do both things at once, dissolve and continue. Page 12, 14. The flagged pages, which require the date as well, and I have to stop and look at the printed date on the top of the document to confirm what day it is, which I know is Thursday, and yet my brain has lost the number. May 18th, Lena says quietly before I can ask. I write it. Page 16, 18, 20. Somewhere around page 23, I realize the crying is not stopping. It has gone fully silent, no sounds coming out, just the continuous wet trail on both cheeks now. And I keep my head angled slightly downward, so my hair falls forward, and the worst of it is not visible from across the table. A small, stupid vanity. I am aware of it. I do it anyway. I finish the last page. I set the pen down in the space between us, parallel to the table edge, Lena's pen, which I should hand back to her, and don't. And then I cover my face with both hands. The sound that comes out of me is small, broken, swallowed almost as soon as it begins, because I have been swallowing sounds like this for 2 months and the muscle memory is established. But it comes out anyway, just the one, and then it is gone, and there is only the press of my palms against my eyes and the warm dark behind them and the complete absence of anything I'm supposed to do next. Lena's chair moves. I hear it. The scrape of the base against the floor, not the short scrape of someone shifting position, but the extended sound of a chair moving around something, not across the table, around it. I don't look up. I press my hands harder against my face. The sound of her footsteps stops beside me. Presence, not across from me, beside me, where no one has been. I feel the warmth of it before contact. She's close enough that the air between us is warmer than the surrounding air. And then her hand settles on my shoulder. One hand, palm and fingers on the curve of my shoulder, over the cable knit sweater. The contact is neutral, calibrated. It is the touch you would give a client in crisis, the steady hand of a professional who has seen 100 conference rooms and 100 broken people, and knows how to be present without overstepping. Her thumb moves, once, just once. Against the sweater, at the top of my shoulder, a single slow arc of pressure. The warmth of it goes through the wool, through my shirt beneath, through the thin strap of the nursing bralette that has been doing its quiet, practical job all evening, straight down to skin. Not a distance I can name precisely, just through. A warmth that should not travel that far through layers and does. My breath catches. The sound is audible. I hear it myself. Lena's hand stops, but it does not lift. We stay there, her standing beside me, her palm on my shoulder, her thumb still, my face hidden behind my hands. And the HVAC hums, and the city breathes through the glass, and neither of us moves or speaks. I have been going through this process for 3 months. 16 weeks ago, I was still a person with a marriage. 10 weeks ago, Marcus moved the last of his things. 6 weeks ago, I found this office. 3 months of paperwork and 4 meetings and precise professional emails. Every boundary intact, every interaction correct. I have managed this. I have done the practical things in the correct order. I found the attorney. I arranged the child care consultation. I told my doctor and asked all the right questions and took the vitamins and moved to the smaller apartment. I have been managing. Her thumb is not moving and I need it to move. I register this thought. I do not act on it. But I register it. The specific, involuntary quality of the weighting in my shoulder, the way the skin beneath the wool has gone alert and attentive in the way skin goes when it is expecting something and not receiving it. A readiness that my shoulder did not have before the contact and now cannot unknow. I lower my hands from my face. I don't turn toward her. I look at the signed stack of papers in front of me, the neat tower of completed decisions, the flagged pages whose tabs are blue and whose signatures are in black lacquer ink. I'm sorry, I say. Don't. Her voice, from beside me, from this close, is something I don't have a chart for. Not her phone voice, not her professional meeting voice, not even the quieter version from earlier. This is a third register, lower and more careful, like something handled gently, not because it is fragile, but because it matters. You're not a person who needs to apologize for this, she says. Not to me, not tonight. I look at the pen, her pen on the table in front of me. Your pen, I say. Keep it, she says. Not an offer, a direction. Her hand is still on my shoulder, her thumb still. The warmth of her palm through the wool is a fixed point, specific and present in the way that fixed points are when everything else has become unsteady. I think about the fact that I am 16 weeks pregnant and crying in my divorce attorney's conference room at 8:30 in the evening, with her hand on my shoulder, and I wait for the absurdity of this to provide some emotional distance, the way absurdity usually does for me. It does not provide distance. The absurdity is completely drowned out by the warmth of her thumb against my shoulder and the quiet and the city and her breathing, which I can hear from here, steady and even, except for the single moment when her inhale was just slightly longer than it should have been. I count the beats of the HVAC. I do not turn toward her. You made tea, I say. On the table at my elbow is the ceramic mug she set there when I arrived. I didn't ask for it. She didn't announce it. It was simply there when I came back from the bathroom, steaming, pale, the tag of a teabag draped over the rim. "Ginger," she says, in case it helped. She does not say why ginger specifically. She does not say that she knows about morning sickness, that she read something, that she thought it through. She just left the sentence partially incomplete and let the gap speak for itself, which is, I am noticing, something she does. "It did help," I say. Her thumb moves, one arc, the same single motion as before, against the top of my shoulder, through the sweater, against my skin 3 layers below. I feel it in my throat. I feel it in the inside of my sternum, behind the breastbone, in the specific place where breath catches before it is released. I feel it in the base of my wrist, in the pulse point there, which has apparently begun operating at a different rate than the rest of me. I do not say any of this. "You don't have to stay composed," Lena says. Her voice has moved. Quieter now. She has shifted slightly. The warmth has moved. I turn my head. She is crouched beside the chair. She's eye level. Not towering, not across the table, not at the professional remove of 4 previous meetings. Eye level beside me, her forearm resting on the edge of the chair back. Close enough that I can see things I have not been close enough to see before. Her eyes are not uniform dark. In the amber light of the desk lamp, with the blue-white city behind the glass, I can see that there are amber flecks at the center, small and warm, like something heated from within. And I realize I have been looking at her from too far away for 3 months, across tables, across conference calls, through the careful, maintained distance of a professional relationship where both parties understood the rules. I am not across the table from her now. "I'm your attorney," I say. My brain has done the words wrong. "You're my attorney." I know. She is looking at me directly, not performing a professional expression, just looking. The way you look at something you have been trying not to look at and are now choosing to see. I understand then that this has been costing her something. Not a great deal. She is not a person who telegraphs cost, but something. The specific quality of her stillness for 3 months in 4 meetings across 4 tables. The way she did not lean forward. The way every email was precise and nothing but precise. The way she slid the tissue box without comment and made the ginger tea without announcement and said, "Take your time" in that lower register, and meant something additional by it that neither of us named. The distance between our faces is less than a foot. I am very aware that it is less than a foot. My eyes move to her mouth without permission, not a decision, a defection of my attention, a small, complete betrayal of the story I've been telling myself for 3 months about clinical professional appreciation and nothing further. Her mouth is still. A muscle in her jaw shifts. The smallest contraction, barely visible, the kind of thing you only see from this distance or less. And she does not retreat. She reaches up slowly, gives me 3 seconds to move back, to reorient, to say the practical thing. 3 full seconds where the hand rises from the chair arm and the space between her palm and my face decreases, and I watch it happen and do not move. Her palm cups my jaw. Her thumb rests at the corner of my mouth. Her 4 fingers extend along the line of my throat, not holding, just placed there, present. The temperature of her hand is not cold. I expected it to be cooler. She reads cool, her whole presentation reads cool, but her palm is warm, warmer than expected, like something that has been running at a temperature it doesn't show. I stop breathing. My pulse is at my neck, under her fingers, and I know she can feel it. I know because I can feel the slight increase in the pressure of her fingertips there. Not pressure applied, just received, her hand absorbing the information of my heart rate against my will. "Tell me to move," she says. The city moves outside the glass. The HVAC hums. The elevator chimes farther away now, 2 floors down at least. In the corridor beyond the frosted panel, there is no sound of footsteps, no sound of anyone. My pulse is in her hand. She can count it. She is counting it. "I can't," I whisper. The sound of Lena's exhale is unsteady. I hear it. I am close enough to hear the specific break in it, not a sigh, not a breath, but the sound of a breath that was controlled and then was not, for the duration of 1 beat before it was controlled again. 1 beat of unsteadiness, then stillness. Her thumb moves against the corner of my mouth. Not a kiss, presence. The pad of her thumb in that specific location, where lip and skin meet, and the nerve endings there responding to input they were not given permission to respond to and doing it anyway. The sound I make is quiet. It exists in the small category of sounds I have made in private over the past 2 months. In the smaller apartment, in the tile bathroom at 5 a.m. Not a sound I expected to make in a law office at 8:30 p.m. with 60 signed pages in front of me. Lena's eyes close. 1 second, 2. When they open, the amber flecks in the dark are more visible, warmer like a heat source that has been turned up. Something has shifted in the economy of her expression. The composure is still present, but the thing it is containing is no longer invisible. "Stand up," she says. Not a question. I stand. She rises with me. We are facing each other now, and I have stood up from the chair, and the geometry of the room is different. Mara's back is half a step from the table edge, the long, dark wood behind her, the desk lamp at the far end casting its amber light across the grain, the city, enormous and indifferent, through the glass. Lena is 1 step away, not across the table. 1 step. The overhead lights have been off since I arrived. Lena turned them off when she made the tea, without commentary, as though the ambient quality of fluorescent light at the end of a marriage was a variable she could simply remove. The only light now is the amber from the lamp and the blue-white grid of the city behind the glass and the shadows that collect in the space between us. Not darkness, just the specific low light of an intimate hour, the hour when buildings go quiet and it becomes possible to hear your own breathing. I can hear my own breathing, I can hear hers. Lena's hand finds my waist, over the sweater, her palm and fingers at the side of my waist, neutral placement in the way that anything is neutral when it is being described to a review board. A hand on a client's waist is a comforting gesture. It is appropriate under these circumstances, except that her fingers curve. They don't grip, they curve. A slight tightening of the pads of her fingers into the wool, and the pressure is deliberate in the way that deliberate things don't announce themselves. The warmth moves through the sweater again. Same path as her thumb on my shoulder, same traveler, 3 layers and then skin, and then something below skin that I don't have a professional category for. "The decree is signed," she says. Her voice is the careful one. "You're not my client anymore. Technically I am until—" Her other hand finds the small of my back. Not beside me now. At the spine. The heel of her hand against the curve of the small of my back. And the pull is not rough. It is simply a repositioning of physics. 6 inches forward, and suddenly the space between us is not the space between a client and an attorney, and the warmth coming off her body is not ambient. It is specific. It is hers. It is aimed. My breath leaves, not the calculated exhale, the involuntary one, the one the body takes back before the mind has decided. We are not touching anywhere except her hands at my waist and spine. My arms are held between my own body and the air between us, not reaching, not retreating, occupying the suspended state of a body that has not yet received the instruction. The narrow distance between our chests. The heat that has gathered there, between us, in the inch of air that is no longer neutral because it contains us. "Mara," her voice, from here, from this close, arrives in my chest before my ears process it. I feel it in the lower sternum, where earlier something locked into place. It resonates. I look up at her. She's staring at my mouth. I understand then that she has been doing this for longer than tonight. Not staring. She would never stare. Her control is too complete for staring. But holding her attention near my mouth in the way that attention moves toward things it is not allowed to move toward, repeatedly, in meetings, on calls, across tables, where the correct distance was maintained, and the professional register was intact, and she was precise and unerring, and exactly what a person in her position is supposed to be. "I have wanted to do this," she says, "since the second meeting." Her hands have not moved. The one at my waist is still curved, fingers still applying that same deliberate, non-gripping pressure. The one at my spine is still warm against the small of my back, the heel of it, the solidity of it. "The second meeting," she continues, "was the one where you cried in the elevator after. I am very still." "You saw that," I say. "I was leaving. I heard the doors. I stepped back into the corridor and waited." A pause, small and complete. "Then I went back to my office and didn't bill a single hour for the rest of the afternoon. I have been an art director for 9 years. I spend my professional life managing visual information, the composition of a frame, the weight of an image, the way meaning accumulates across a sequence of elements. I have been very good at looking at things and not misreading them. I have been completely wrong about this. For 3 months I read professional, precise. Appropriately warm in the moments when warmth is legally and ethically expected of someone managing a vulnerable client. I read the T as competence. I read the tissue box as protocol. I read the lower register voice as a trained quality she probably uses with all her clients, the particular frequency that says, I see you, I am steady, you are safe here. I did not read, waited in the corridor, did not bill the afternoon. My hands find her lapels without my instruction. This is not a decision. My hands rise from the space between us and land on the charcoal wool of her jacket lapels. And the fabric is smooth and expensive under my knuckles. And beneath the jacket, the black silk blouse is visible at the collar, and my knuckles brush it before I notice they have moved that far, and Lena's inhale is sharp and audible. One inhale, one beat of sharpness, then controlled. What are we doing? I say quietly. Her hand moves up my back, not from waist to ribs in one sweep, up. From the small of my back between my shoulder blades, the heel of her hand moving along my spine through the sweater, finding the place between the shoulder blades and settling there. Holding me in position, not roughly, with the certainty of someone who has decided. I don't know, she says. The words are honest in the specific way that honest things are when they have stopped being performed. But I'm not letting go. The city lights make rectangles on the conference room floor. The shadows have collected fully in the space between us now. Not darkness, just the amber-limbed closeness of two people who are no longer maintaining the correct distance. Her hands on me, my hands on her lapels. The heat between our bodies that has stopped being ambient and started being singular. Her jaw tightens, a small muscle beneath the skin, the same one I saw earlier when my eyes moved to her mouth without permission, and she did not retreat. It tightens and then releases, and then she tilts her head, slightly, and her mouth finds the side of my neck. Not a kiss. Her lips against the place where pulse meets jaw, warm and completely still, like a pressure applied with all the force of someone who has been refraining for a very long time and is now only barely releasing. Presence. Just presence. Her mouth against my pulse point, which is currently behaving in a way my pulse point has no business behaving in an office building after hours. My knees make a decision I did not authorize. Lena's arm catches me. The hand that was between my shoulder blades comes around my side, her forearm at my back, her hand braced against the table edge behind me, her body the counterweight to my sudden structural failure. The table is solid, dark wood behind me, and Lena is solid in front of me, and for one complete second, I am simply held upright by the geometry of her. I've got you, she says against my throat. The sound she makes when she says it is not composed. It is the sound of someone who has been composed for 3 months and is choosing to stop. The choice is visible in the way the sound is made, not lost, not overcome, but set down. A thing she has been carrying that she has decided for this, to put on the table with the rest of the paperwork. My hands move from her lapels to her hair. 3 months of watching it. The jet black precision of it, pulled back and tucked behind one ear, every strand in its correct place. The visual language of a person who has decided that everything above the shoulders will be architecture and not texture. I have looked at it in 4 meetings from across tables and filed the looking incorrectly as aesthetic appreciation, as the professional eye for a well-composed image. It is softer than any version of it I imagined. My fingers are in it, and the texture is softer, not the cool smoothness I expected from its visual register, but something warmer and more private. The texture of something that belongs to a different room than a conference room, a different hour than a professional hour. I pull gently and she makes a sound, low and unguarded. I have not heard this sound from her before. There is no professional version of it, no trained register, no controlled quality. It is just a sound, small and real, and it does something to the inside of my chest that I will not be describing in anatomical terms, because I do not currently have access to accurate language. Tell me if this is, she begins. Don't stop, I say. Her palm flattens against my ribcage. She has moved her hand from the table edge. She is trusting the table, trusting me, trusting the narrow corridor of space we have created here between the table and her body. And her palm is flat against my ribs through the sweater. Fingers spread, and I can feel her feeling my heartbeat. I know she can feel it because her hand is perfectly still, not moving, just receiving. The way she received my pulse at my throat, counting it, holding the information of it. She can feel my heartbeat. She can feel the small swell of my belly where the sweater gaps slightly and the wool lies against the curve of 16 weeks. And I feel the moment her hand registers this fully, the slight adjustment, not pulling back, the opposite of pulling back. Her fingers spread further, covering more, understanding what her hand has found. She doesn't say anything about it. Her hand simply stays. I pull her face up from my neck. Our mouths are 1 inch apart. The amber desk lamp at the far end of the table, the city grid behind the glass, the blue-white light that has made rectangles on the floor all evening, the HVAC, the distant elevator, very far away now as though the building has gotten larger, as though the hall outside the frosted panel has extended itself, the specific quality of her breath against my mouth, warmer than the surrounding air, and not steady, the rhythm broken in the specific way that rhythms break when the body is no longer prioritizing its own regulation. "Lena," I say. "I know," she says. The kiss is not gentle. I want to be accurate about this. There is nothing in the gesture of the previous hour, her stillness, her careful hands, the 3-inch slide of the tissue box, the ginger tea left without announcement, that would predict the complete, unhesitating quality of this. Her hand at my ribs tightens. My fingers in her hair hold. The table shifts when my hip presses back against it. The decree, in its neat signed stack, slides from the table edge. Neither of us notices. When she pulls back enough to speak, her lipstick is gone. It has transferred to me, and I will realize this later, in a bathroom mirror. And this will be the moment I understand that some things happen and cannot be unhappened, and that this is not always bad. She says. Her breathing is altered. Not labored, but altered, the rhythm of it different from what it was 20 minutes ago when she crossed around the table and put her hand on my shoulder and held still. "You're pregnant, and you're leaving a marriage, and I'm your attorney, and this is—" "I know what this is," I say. She's looking at me, not at my mouth. At me, at my face, the direct look that has been doing things to my chest for 3 months across tables from a correct distance. And from here, from 6 inches, it is a different kind of event. I feel it in my sternum, in my throat, in the pulse point at my neck that her mouth was on 20 seconds ago, and that is still warm from the contact and has not stopped being warm. "Do it anyway," I say. The sound that Lena Sørensen makes is not composed. It is low. It is the specific register, below her professional voice, below her quiet meeting voice, below the careful voice from earlier. It is the register that exists below all of those, the one she has been maintaining silence over for 3 months of precise emails and correct distances and tissue boxes slid 3 inches closer, without commentary. It dissolves the last geometry between us. Her hand, at the small of my back, the heel of her hand against the curve of my spine, which has been there and returned there and held there through sweater and skin, moves in a slow circle, not a claiming sweep, a circle. Her thumb against the bare skin of my lower back where the sweater has ridden up, tracing the unhurried arc of someone who has time, who is choosing to have time, who is not rushing past this toward some other moment, but remaining fully inside this one. I make sounds that the overhead lighting would have made difficult. The overhead lighting is off. Has been off since she turned it off when she made the tea and did not say why. I understand now that she was thinking ahead. I understand now that she has been thinking ahead since at least the second meeting, possibly longer. Her mouth is at my collar, my jaw. The soft place below my ear, where the warmth of her breath is a specific kind of sensation that I do not have a category for and am not attempting to categorize. I am not categorizing anything. I have stopped categorizing. My hands are in her hair, which is softer than I imagined for 3 months of imagining I wasn't imagining it. And the jet black strand of it that has fallen from behind her left ear and lies against her cheek catches the amber light of the desk lamp at the far end of the table and the blue-white light of the city beyond the glass, and looks like neither one and both. Her jacket is still buttoned, most of it. I have done something to one of the buttons in the last interval of time without registering the doing. She pulls back. Not far. 4 inches. She looks at me. This is the look I will think about. Not later tonight, not tomorrow. The look I will think about in 6 months in the smaller apartment, on the tile floor in the early morning, on the days when the logistics of the life I am constructing seem made of the wrong material for the weight they're carrying. This look, not a performed expression, not the professional composure or the careful warmth, just what is actually in her face, which is something I don't have a word for and am not going to try to find one. because some faces show you things that words would make smaller. Her thumb finds the base of my wrist, not my shoulder this time, not my jaw or my rib cage or the small of my back. The base of my wrist, my left wrist, where the pulse lives and has been living for the last 45 minutes at a rate that my doctor would have questions about. Her thumb presses there, holds, not moving, just present against the pulse, feeling it the way her hand at my neck felt it, gathering the information of what my body's doing and holding it carefully. I look at her thumb on my wrist. She looks at my face. Mara, she says, just my name, not a question. I look up and she is holding her breath. We have come back in the circular way that things come back to the beginning, to the moment I tried to describe at the start before I went back to explain it, to the cold open that felt, when it happened, like an arrival rather than an event. Her hand on mine, her thumb at the base of my wrist, her breath held. And here's what I know now that I did not know at the start of the evening. When I rode the elevator up with my signed forms in my bag and the cream sweater over the small curve of 16 weeks and the plan to do the practical thing in the correct order and then go home and sit on tile, her breath was held because she was waiting. She has been, in various ways, in 4 meetings and 3 months of precise emails, waiting. For what, I did not understand until she crossed around the table and crouched to eye level and gave me 3 full seconds to pull back, and I looked at her hand rising toward my face and did not move. I understood it then. I understand it fully now. I know, I say. This is what I said when she said my name, and it is still true, is truer than it was, covers more ground than a single word has any business covering. Her exhale is slow, unsteady at the edges, controlled at the center, the specific quality of something released with intention rather than against will. She straightens, not stepping back, just returning to her full height, her full presence, the one that reorganized the room on the first day we met, the one that makes conversations reroute and attention route differently without announcement. From here, she looks the way she looked in every meeting and nothing like it. We are still close enough to feel the warmth of each other. What happens now? I say. I don't know. You're supposed to have answers. You're a lawyer. Her mouth moves. The specific movement that I have been watching across tables for 3 months and reading incorrectly as controlled professional warmth. The slight curve at the left corner only, asymmetric, private. I understand now that this is not her professional expression. This is something she almost never shows anyone. Not for this, she says. I lean back against the table. She's still between me and the rest of the room, her body closing off the angle, her hands at her sides now instead of on me, which is an absence I feel with specific anatomical precision in the places she was. My shoulder, my jaw, my spine, my ribcage, my wrist, the pulse point at my neck that is still warm where her mouth was. My phone buzzes on the table surface beside me. I don't look at it. She looks at the phone, looks back at me. The decree is signed, she says. It's not filed yet. How long do I have? 30 days! Outside the glass, a cloud has moved across the lower edge of the city's light, diffusing it. The grid has softened, the hard blue-white rectangles on the conference room floor gone gentle, the amber from the desk lamp at the table's end warmer now by contrast. The decree is on the floor, where it fell. Lena's pen is somewhere near the chair where I signed page after page with a shaking hand. And after that, I say, after that, you're not my client anymore. Her voice is steady. The professional register has returned, but the thing it used to contain, the invisible element, the carefully maintained temperature, is no longer invisible. And I can do this without breaking any rules, except the ones we already broke. Except those. I look at her mouth. Her lipstick is gone. Mine is presumably distributed between here and various locations. It does not belong in a conference room. And I register this with the low-grade, detached amusement of a person who has spent the last 2 months laughing at the wrong moments because the alternatives were worse. I reach up and touch the corner of her mouth, the pad of my index finger, at the corner where her lipstick ended and the color that transferred from me begins. She goes still when I do this. Not tense, still. The specific stillness she has that is not absence, but attention. I'm 16 weeks pregnant, I say. And leaving a marriage. I'm not. I stop. I don't know how to finish this sentence in a way that is accurate and fair. I am not fragile is wrong. I am not a sure thing is wrong. I am not what you think I am is impossible to assess because I don't know what she thinks I am. I know what you are, she says. Her voice, from this close, in this register, arrives where it always arrives. Low in my chest, behind the sternum, in the specific place where earlier something locked into place and has not unlocked. I've been looking at the file for 3 months. I know what you are. This is not a declaration. It is not a promise in the traditional sense. It is something more precise than that, which suits both of us. I am a person who works in images, and she is a person who works in language, and we are both, I think, equally suspicious of the version of things that announces itself loudly. We understand things that arrive quietly and mean a great deal. And, I say, and I'm still not letting go. Her hands find my waist again. Over the sweater, at the sides, not pulling me forward, just placing themselves there, present and warm. The fingers curve the way they curved before, and the pressure is deliberate, and the warmth travels through the wool and through the shirt and through the practical blush lace of the nursing bralette that I chose for comfort and that has spent the evening being something else entirely, and lands against my skin. I put my hands over hers, not directing them, just covering them with mine, the backs of her hands under my palms, warm and solid and real. The conference room is very quiet. The HVAC has changed cycles. There is a brief silence from the ceiling vent, 10 or 15 seconds, when the only sound is the city through the glass, and our breathing, and the small sound of the decree on the floor, which makes no sound but is present. Lena looks down at my hands over hers. The amber light catches the edge of her cheekbone, the angle of her jaw, the strand of black hair that has come fully loose from behind her left ear, and lies against her face. She does not push it back. In the morning she will come back to this room. She will pick up the decree from the floor, gathering the pages carefully, smoothing them, stacking them in order the way she stacked them for me. She will find her pen near the chair. She will return to her office, where the filing system is organized and the decisions are sequential and the rules are clear, and she will not file the decree. She will put it in a folder, she will label the folder with my name and the date, and she will put it in the cabinet where things wait. She will wait for 29 days. I don't know this yet. Standing here with my hands over hers and the city making its quiet geometry on the conference room floor, I don't know what she will decide in the morning when the professional hour has returned and the overhead lights are on and the amber desk lamp is off. But her hands are warm beneath mine, and her breathing is the altered rhythm of someone who has put something down that she was carrying, and she is looking at me with the direct look that I will think about in 6 months. And the decree is on the floor, and her pen is near my chair, and neither of us is moving. She leans forward. Her forehead finds mine. A contact point, bone to bone, the most unguarded kind. The proximity of people who are not performing for each other and have run out of reasons to maintain the correct distance. Her eyes are closed, mine are open. I look at her face, this close. The sharp angles of it, the defined jaw, the architecture of the cheekbones and the amber light. The small thing that has changed in her expression since she crossed around the table. The thing that has no professional name, that exists below the composure, that she has been containing for 3 months in the way that people contain things that have nowhere to go. It has somewhere to go now. Her thumb finds the base of my wrist again, presses, holds. The pulse underneath, my pulse, still running at an unauthorized rate, still reporting on the state of things without my consent, and her thumb receiving it. The same small, deliberate contact, the same warmth, the same absolute stillness of something that has made a decision and is done with uncertainty. I turn my head slightly, our foreheads still touching, and my mouth finds the corner of hers. Not a full kiss, the corner. Presence. The same quality her thumb used at the corner of my mouth earlier. Just there, just warmth, just contact that lands in the place between what is said and what is meant. She makes a sound, quiet, real. Outside the glass, the city continues to organize itself into light and dark, into grids and angles, into the enormous, indifferent machinery of a Thursday night that does not know or care what is happening in a conference room on an upper floor of a high-rise building where a signed decree is on the floor and a pen is near a chair, and 2 women are standing in the amber light with their foreheads together and one thumb moving in a slow arc against a pulse point. The city does not know. We do.